Comeback for Vasilev and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal in his Union debut? The record signing! Off and running in his first appearance for the club!
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and we are live from Denver, Colorado, or at least one part of the show is live from Denver, Colorado. So I guess it's best to get it out of the way right away. Hopefully, there's no audio issues. Hopefully, there's no feedback, any issues. If not, then Jose Nunez will carry the show. But it does feel a little bit odd that I'm finally doing this show away from home, and Jose Nunez is actually back at home. I mean, the roles are completely reversed. But regardless, we have a terrific show to talk about with last night's Philadelphia Union win, defeating Chicago Fire 3-0. We have about 4 clips to play, and just a lot to get to tonight. But let me go ahead and turn it over to the other half of the show, Jose Nunez. How you doing? Actually at home for once.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fun and funny that the roles are reversed here, where it's typically the other way around, right? So you look tired, I must admit. Hopefully you're adjusting a little bit to the time there. It's not as drastic as going all the way over, but it certainly beats you up a little bit. So I hope
it's close enough.
Yeah, it's
just need one more hour.
Sure. Well, the kicker is that you did it also on the day that the clock went back, right? So it's double punishment for you. But yeah, what an interesting match to talk about tonight and sort of dissect a little bit. I don't think many of us in the press and certainly the fan base expected to see what happened last night, but ultimately it was fun to watch, that's for sure, and also demoralizing for, I think, one specific person in Chicago, but everybody else just kind of fell apart. And I think it all stemmed from the very, very root of it being the goalkeeper, but more to come on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely not a great performance from Jeffrey Gall. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, here in a bit. But yeah, I think this is exactly what the Philadelphia Union would have wanted to win this game in 2. And it's exactly what happens. And now they have a long 3 weeks off. We don't know yet if they'll play on the 22nd or 23rd, as Charlotte and New York City are going to a Game 3 next week after Charlotte beat New York City in penalty kicks, which, look, I don't know about you, Jose. I didn't expect that game to go to penalty kicks. I expected New York City to win this game outright. Goes into penalty kicks. We know both goalkeepers, Matt Freese and Christian Kalina, are both excellent shot stoppers. We saw last year with Charlotte the success with Kalina in goal on penalty kicks. We've seen Matt Freese, I feel like, over the last year, make so many penalty saves, whether it be in a shootout or from the game. And so to see that one go into penalties and to see Charlotte to prevail, now it goes back to the bank next week, and we shall see which one of those defensive teams will face off against the Union. But I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the first bit of the show. As we all know, the Union win this game 3-0. Tai Baribo scores a brace. Damiani, he scores a lone goal in the 35th minute. But this is, Jose, I was looking at it, the first time that the Union have defeated an opponent 4 times in a single season. Yeah, technically the Union didn't win last week because it went into penalties. It was 2-2 at the end of regulation, but the Union come out on top in the penalty kick. So I don't know how you look at that. I mean, I guess it is technically a win because the Union had 1 already, and they just needed 2 more, and they got it last night against Chicago. So I guess technically it is a win. But if that game didn't go to penalties, if it was a regular season, then it ends on a draw. But for the sake of everything, we'll say it's 4 wins first time the Union have ever done that, which maybe isn't that surprising because the Union had faced off against Chicago twice during the regular season, twice in the playoffs, obviously. The only other team that I thought maybe that could have been possible with was New York Red Bulls, but that wasn't the case. The Union defeated Red Bulls 3 times, but they've never defeated a single opponent 4 single times in a season, which is pretty impressive, right, Jose?
I think it's incredibly impressive. I think you've heard me mention it once or twice how Philadelphia has been on the receiving end of losing 3 times on the bounce. Nashville this year, I believe, and last year or whatever it was, a couple of years ago against Columbus, especially with that Leagues Cup disaster. The third place game? It was the match after the third place game that they got it was just embarrassing. Good to see. But the other thing to remember is with how much MLS messes around with the playoff format, it's hard to find an apples to apples sort of comparison, right? This almost feels like a crazy coincidence in a way, or just a happenstance that it's against Chicago specifically. But you gotta feel for Jack Elliott a little bit. Getting beat by his old team 4 times on the bounce is not an easy thing to do. And even friends like Alex Calabrese and others in Men in Red must not be fun to watch Philadelphia Union manhandle the Chicago the way that they did, right? To play them 4 times and only score, or I should say the Union only allowed 2 goals in 4 matches. That is unbelievably impressive, and just a sign of the type of ball that the Union play, even though I think our friends out in Chicago claim that Chicago is a far more talented side, which I would say the record says otherwise.
Yeah, you hit on something that I want to talk about, Jose. In Michael's comment, he said, Todd, where the hell are you? What have you done to Charmander? Yeah, there is no way I was putting Charmander in a suitcase. I know people that watch the live stream, they've come to expect Charmander to be in the background. But there's no way I was bringing a Charmander with me to Denver. So we got a little bit of a different background drop. Maybe it's a little bit better. But you brought up a good point. Only 2 goals conceded in 4 matches against Chicago. And then on the flip side of that, 10 goals. 10 goals in 4 games. I mean, wow. And again, you had talked about it a little bit last night. A little bit ago with Jeff Gall filling in for Chris Brady, responsible for 2 out of the 3 goals that Chicago conceded on the night. But I go back to that game against Chicago back in August, where Baribo scores. You had Daniel Jean-Jacques get on the score sheet, Kai Wagner, Milan Olaski. It was just free-flowing scoring. And we know this Union team is talented enough to do that. We've seen it all season long, where they've gone out and had 18 different goal scorers, I think, on the season. So, I mean, this is a team that doesn't rely on one player. Yes, early on in the season, the Union were relying on Tai Baribo to score all those goals. But when Baribo wasn't scoring, other players stepped up. When there was international duty, other players stepped up. And so last night, not so much, because Baribo gets 2 goals. Yes, Damiani also gets a goal. But this is a team that has shown time and time again they don't need to rely on Tai Baribo. But then going back to Jeff Gall, yes, the Union took advantage. They forced a mistake, and at the same time, it wasn't great passing out of the back from Jeff Gall on the 3rd goal. I want to say it was maybe the 2nd goal. I forget. I'll have to look at it here. But Jack Elliott plays that pass back to Gall, and it's away from him, and so he has to leave out of his goal box and gets pressured. It was the 3rd goal. Gets pressured by Milan Olaski. Olaski deflects the ball a little bit, and then it's a wide open goal for Damiani. So yes, Jack Elliott didn't help out his goalkeeper there, but at the same time, I mean, Gall took way too long on the ball. Why isn't he clearing that out faster? Allows Milan Olaski to shut him down. The first goal was horrendous, and the ball eventually gets played out for Kai Wagner and Tai Baribo for the 2nd goal. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Gall, I think, yeah, hindsight's 2020. I think Chicago fans would tell you, okay, after that game, they would much rather have Chris Brady in the goal than Zinchenko back into the lineup, who didn't do much last night, in my opinion. But we've come to expect this, right, Jose? We saw it last year, certainly, for the Union with Zemla and Rick in the goal, and how badly Andre Blake was missed. And that shows you how important good goalkeeping is in the league.
Yeah, how many times did we hear Jim Curtin say that, goalkeepers like Andre Blake and once now Andrew has gotten a hold of his performances, right? I think on the year six clean sheets, and Blake, I guess at this point is probably 9 or 10, I would think 9, right? How important a goalkeeper is and how much it means in points. Never mind when you start thinking about playoffs. And yes, the first round's a little different because you get at the very least 2 opportunities, potentially 3 opportunities to get it right, to win 2 out of the 3. But you got to feel bad for Jeff Gall in a way. And I jokingly said to somebody, get ready to learn Lugano, Gall. You're gonna be sold to the Chicago Fire B team away from home. But yeah, I was actually shocked that Zinchenko was totally fine to go, or as fine as he could go. And the Union did put some pressure on him, but obviously the mental pressure was a far bigger mountain for Gall to climb, because both that very first goal was just was rough. That touch to basically give it to Tai Baribo. The second mistake, which I guess was the third goal on the night, I think most goalkeepers are 1 inch away from having that happen to them more often than not. It just happened here with Gall, unfortunately, on a night where he already had a terrible mistake. And then the second goal was just, I think, very much a Philadelphia Union goal. I keep saying Gall and goal. So not much to it, man. Feel for the guy, and it's tough to go into this situation after only playing what was seven games. 7 games, 9 goals, and 1 clean sheet, I think was the stat that I pulled. I can't remember the tweet anymore. So I think I don't know what his contract situation is, but I just don't know what it looks like for him in 2026.
Yeah. I'm sure Chicago probably will be looking for a backup goalkeeper. And who's to say that Chris Brady sticks around? I mean, I thought Brady, look, we all know that Brady was the heir to Gaga Salina, and I'm surprised that Chris Brady still stuck around. But, I mean, that's pretty impressive, though, to see Chicago have 2 back-to-back really good goalkeeping in Gaga Salina and then Chris Brady. So they've proven that they can develop goalkeeping, that they can go out and find goalkeepers and develop them. But at the same time, yeah, I'm sure after that game, they're maybe putting a backup goalkeeper a little bit higher up on that list. A lot of decisions to be made. We know Chicago Fire will go out there and spend the money. And yeah, I mean, look, not to take anything away from Tai Baribo or Bruno Damiani, but yeah, I mean, 2 of those goals were gifted, and you got to create your luck and you got to be in the right position at the right time. And Baribo certainly was, and Damiani certainly was as well. And the Union aren't going to care how those goals come; they'll take them either way. And yeah, it's disappointing if you're a Chicago Fire fan. But we've talked about Baribo here a couple times today, so I think let's go ahead and talk about that. I mean, he scores his first goal since August 23rd. How important is that exactly for Baribo himself to get him going? The last time that he scored was also against Chicago Fire, and go figure that in the second game in this series, he gets 2 goals on the night. And you got to go all the way back to May 24th against Inter Miami, the last time that Baribo scored a brace. But in his first 14 games of the season, he had 13 goals. And then you look at his last 15 games for the Union, only 3 goals. And so, yes, I started off talking about how when Baribo wasn't scoring goals, other players for the Union were stepping up. And this is a striker that is very potent in the goal. scoring department in the box. His one-time finishing, we've seen it so many times. I mean, look, he scored, I guess, both of his goals last night came from first-time finishing because of the mistake by Jeff Gall on the first one. Let's go ahead and replay that. I'm pretty sure that was the first-time one, and then obviously the header that he scores with Kai Wagner crossing it in. So Baribo takes it off his foot. Not a first-time finish. He takes it off his foot, and then the second one, so 2 touches. So, but this the header was certainly a first-time finish. It was just with his head. Which also, by the way, can we talk about this goal real quick? I mean, how poor defensively that was from Chicago. You had Jack Elliott, former Philadelphia Union player, who almost got a goal in this game. Andre Blake comes up with a big save later on. Not that it makes a difference, but Jack Elliott just completely loses Tai Baribo, and it's Zinko Knuckle who actually right here just doesn't clear it away. Credit to Jovan for keeping it in play, and then it's a perfect crosser by Kai Wagner into Baribo. We see that connection so many times throughout the regular season, and now we see it once again in the playoffs. And you see how much that means to this team, going 2 goals up 16 minutes into this game. But yeah, I mean, Tai Baribo, it's got to be huge for his confidence, I would imagine, right, Jose?
Yeah, just to bring it full circle and finish the conversation, Jeff Gall on $140,000 salary. For comparison, Andrew Rick making $90,000 this season guaranteed, and Jeff Gall is out of contract now with the season over for Chicago. Tai Baribo wise, this is exactly the time where you want him heating up, right? I wrote my match reaction for Philly Voice and sort of spoke about him sort of, needing to get going, heating up at the right moment. And that's exactly what he's doing, because it's starting to resemble that 2022 run more and more as the games go on here in the playoffs, because in 2022, it was that trident of Carranza, Ua, Gastag, Carranza, Ua, Gastag. And when one would cool off, the other 2 would take over. One of those 2 would cool off, the other one that wasn't hot at the moment would step up. And to see Baribo sort of get these 2 goals, obviously one from just luck, but I think I'd rather say effort. I think that's what he would tell you on a microphone, running after that ball, despite thinking, 99% of the time that ball gets cleared. And then a header that, he's done this time and time again. And Kai Wagner, credit to him, puts an incredible ball in for the header, and some suspect defending, but nonetheless took the opportunity, is exactly what Tai Baribo needed to get going. I found it comical that the last time he scored, Baribo, was against Chicago as well, right? A ways away now. But glad to see him scoring, especially now with 3 weeks to go until the next match, and a child that's going to be born any moment between now and November 22 or 23 for him and his wife, I believe. Wife, not girlfriend anymore, fiance. It's his wife. Congratulations to him. What a way to cap off potentially going into an international break. I'm intrigued because I think Israel's actually eliminated from World Cup contention. So I wonder if the team goes on and starts trying new players for the next cycle. But if not, Tai should be on a plane sooner rather than later off to represent Israel in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and hear from Brelly Cornell. You had asked Cornell about the 2 goals that Baribo scored in the night, and this is what Cornell had to say on his performance.
I thought he was excellent with his national team, and the way he came back felt like a weight off his shoulders. And then the way he's been playing, been very productive. It's just been missing. Just think about the run he had when Frankie comes in, plays the cross ball in the last game, like very close to the one-touch tie, and we've seen a good shift of energy, positivity, quality. We've seen a lot of things about Tai's game that's getting back to usual. So I'm really happy he's struck at the right time. And we're going to use this, bottle it up, and then unpack it in 3 weeks' time.
And another thing that you pointed out there, Jose, was the pressure, right? It's a heavy touch by Gall, but without that pressure by Baribo, that goal probably doesn't happen. And so credit to Baribo for not giving up on the play, applying the pressure and making it uncomfortable on Gall. And sometimes you got to create your luck, but sometimes, it's we hear Cornell say it all the time. It's not about the formation, it's about the principles. And we know that it starts with the strikers putting up the pressure, and then everybody else is going to follow. And you saw it there on that first goal by Baribo. But yeah, I mean, look, 13 goals in his first 14 games. We've talked about that so many times, just how crucial, how vital Baribo was. And I think I can recall, Jose, we did an episode maybe in May, maybe June, where we said, who's your MVP at this point in the season? Obviously, there was still a lot to be played, but we had people chiming in the comments saying Tai Baribo, Kai Wagner, Quinn Sullivan. I said myself, I believe maybe you said Danley John Jock or Jovan Lukic. I mean, there was a lot of players that were having excellent seasons in the first half of in the year. I don't think anybody would have predicted 3 goals in his last 15 games for Baribo. But yes, the Union absolutely do need Baribo to get going, in my opinion. I've said it multiple times here on the show where I don't like Damiani and Baribo both starting. I think they're too similar and they make a lot of the similar runs. But maybe this 3 weeks off, maybe they can go ahead and refine that chemistry. Now, one thing that was interesting last night is no Mikal Ua on the bench. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cornell said that he picked up a knock or aggravated something on Friday's training session. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he wasn't too concerned, it sounded like, after the game. And he did mention that, this break should hopefully get Mikal healthy. He also mentioned that Indiana Vassila wasn't able to go 90 minutes on the night either, and that this 3-week break should be good for players that are dealing with a little bit of knocks, and hopefully, whether it be Charlotte or New York City, the team will be as healthy as can be.
Yeah, on Ua, I believe that the quote was, just unfortunate, we did a little activation this morning, so match day morning, Saturday AM out in Chicago, and it didn't feel right in his knee. He got through the week okay, and we were touch and go. We took an extra man just in case, and we decided not to risk anything, which I think it's sensible, and again, all of it, hindsight being 2020, it was absolutely the right decision because there was absolutely no need to bring in Ua at all, right? I wonder if it was. It must have been, right? They typically go for a coffee or walk around the city where they're at playing. I wonder if he was just walking and it just was feeling a little funky for him or whatever. I can't imagine that they're at the hotel, I don't know, ballroom doing stretches or something. Maybe they are. I don't know. I know some teams do odd stuff, but it's good that, in a way it's good that there is this 3-week break. I think for us in the press and certainly the fan base, it's 3 weeks of literally just sitting still. And I know we can talk till our faces turn blue about how poorly this team tends to perform after long breaks, especially international ones. But yeah, it was shocking to me, but also once again, great that it wasn't needed at all. I just wonder where this Charlotte and New York City game 3 is going to go. It doesn't really matter too much to Philadelphia in a way because they have to come to Philly, and that has been sort of the kryptonite for the Union against both of those teams, having to either go to New York or have to go to Charlotte. So it's just incredible that that supporter shield and clinching home field advantage, it could turn out to be just so massive for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if Charlotte is the team that winds up beating New York City. We know the Union have yet to get a win down in Charlotte, so none of that stuff matters because all roads lead through Chester, Pennsylvania now. The Union get their lone away game out of the way, defeating Chicago 3-0. But you had talked about it a little bit, the 3-week break. I'll go ahead and put the ball in your court before I answer this myself. Is the 3-week break an advantage or disadvantage for the Union, in your opinion, Jose? I know you said we could talk about this until we're blue in our face. Might as well do it now.
Yeah, this is where I might be talking out of both sides of my mouth because I am the biggest proponent of, how important it is to the club and to the players to go off and represent their nations, right? Especially here at the home stretch of World Cup qualifying. Again, I haven't done too much digging yet. I'm guessing within the next 48, 72 hours, I'm sure we'll find out who's going where. I'm guessing Blake is going to be going with Jamaica. They have a very good chance to go ahead and qualify right away, not have to go through the Intercontinental tournament. Also, Danley, 100%, I would think, going with Haiti, not official, but I can't imagine that he doesn't go. Jesus Bueno, it's going to be really interesting whether he is part of that next cycle. And I know they're also going through an interim coach who happens to be also a former Union player with Aristigueta. So I just hope that none of them get injured. But as Hoagie, and congratulations, Hoagie, on your wedding, mentions, it is unbelievable to also expect these guys to come back roaring when there's this much of a break. I wonder what it does to them in terms of momentum. We've seen the Union operate without players while they're in international duty. I mean, one of them was the Chicago game out in Chicago, I believe, where Bedoya was playing defense, if I recall. And that worked out. St. Louis, where
he shut down Bamba. Yeah, it was good playing as a right back.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, not that the Union are going to be playing without these players, just sort of talking out loud and coming back from an international break can be tough for some of these guys, especially when some of them are landing, Todd, like when 36 hours before the next match, right? I think we've seen circumstances where Danley, Jean-Jacques has showed up to one practice and then it's match day, right? And that last practice is more or less a recovery day. So we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm talking both sides of my mouth. I think it's an incredibly great thing. Like, it's a great thing for them to represent their nations at the global stage, but also now when it's, the business end of the season and it's single match elimination, gives you a little bit of pause thinking about them coming out of nowhere and just expecting them to perform the way they did 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree with Sexy Hoagie. I think it's a disadvantage. And I'll go ahead and talk about it until I'm blue in the face. I mean, you look, 1-1 draw against Toronto this season at home, coming off of a 2-week break after the previous 2 weeks ago playing Colorado Rapids. The Union won against the Rapids 3-1. Then you have the 2-1 win over Charlotte after a 2-week break. You had multiple players missing for the Gold Cup. You had Jesus Bräuner scoring his first goal of the season. Marcus Anderson scoring the game-winning goal, his only goal of the season. I believe his only appearance, too, for the club. You go 2 months ago now. Wow, it's crazy how time flies by. Union had 2 weeks off. They lose to Vancouver 7-0. 2 weeks off, you lose to Charlotte 2-0. And if you want to look at playoffs specifically, in 2023, after having 17 days off from their game against New England, the Union lost 1-0 to FC Cincinnati. I know there were a lot of controversy in that game with Ian Murphy and Cincinnati. Doesn't matter. Cincinnati win. Can't do anything about it. Back in 2022, 11 days after their last game against Toronto, the Union get a 1-0 win over FC Cincinnati. In 2021, after 13 games off from their last game against New York City, the Union pick up a 1-0 win over New York Red Bulls. Jacob Glesnes obviously scoring that late game-winning goal in the second half of stoppage time in extra time, right before the game went into penalties. And then in 2020, the Union had 16 days off after their last game against New England. They lose 2-0 to New England in the first round of the playoffs. So you have some wins there, you have some losses there, but I just think this team, for whatever reason, yes, I know there's some wins there, but I personally don't have faith in this team when they have such a long break off. And that's crazy to say I don't have faith in this team just with how well they played this season, winning the Supporters' Shield. And yes, I mentioned there was some results that went the Union's way, but it's kind of hard to look past that 7-0 Vancouver game. It's kind of hard to look past that 2-0 loss down to Charlotte. Yes, I know Alejandro Bedoya had a couple chances, and the Union maybe could have came away with a point down in Charlotte. But the fact of the matter is they didn't. And I think we've seen them just start too slow. And for whatever the case may be, it doesn't always look the prettiest. And so Bradley Cornell last night was asked how the Union will go ahead and approach these next 3 weeks off, not knowing if the game is going to be on November 22nd or 23rd.
Yeah, well, we'll recover. That's what we'll do. By then, hopefully Mika's back fit. There's a couple of guys, Indy couldn't do 90 tonight. So now this just gives us time. And I think sometimes you can use the time to your advantage. And I think we'll use it definitely on this occasion, right? I think we're a mature enough group right now. We've sort of come together over time of the course of the season to know what hurts us and what helps us. And I think the guys will do everything in their power to make sure we do everything that will help us come 22 or 23. Yeah, November.
So, Bradley Cornell obviously sounds a lot more optimistic than myself, and that's exactly what you want from your head coach. You want your head coach to sound optimistic. I'm sure there's other people in the fan base that agree with myself or in Sexy Hoagie that it's a disadvantage. But if you look at Renee's comment, he agrees with Bradley Cornell, says having the extra week is going to be a blessing. We have lots of guys that could use some healing time. And I don't disagrey with that. Again, you heard Cornell talk about Mikhail Uhre. You heard him talk about Indiana Vassilev. Let's not forget that Jeremy Raffanello suffered that hamstring injury months ago against DC United. Finally came in, made an appearance for like 30 seconds last night. But it was nice to see Raffanello get back onto the field. And you would imagine that these next 3 weeks off are definitely going to help him recover and maybe play a little bit more meaningful minutes on the night. But I can't be as optimistic as Bradley Cornell just because, I've seen it just way too many times. And maybe you would say that, this team is different than teams in the past. But until they can actually prove it to me and they'll have a chance in 3 weeks, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the one thing to remember, though, Todd, is that, yes, I think that there is an angle here in terms, and there always was an angle, but just speaking out loud, this team overnight just got a tiny bit thinner because Cavan's gone. He's officially gone off to the U17 World Cup. So when you start thinking about needing bodies to be healthy, et cetera, this does help. There's no doubt about it. How they pass this time is going to be really interesting, right? Obviously, the internationals will go away if they're called upon. The rest of the group, I'm sure we'll try to keep some sort of sense of normal leading into the match on the 21st and 22nd. But I saw the comment somewhere now here. Man, an inter-squad scrimmage would be such a fun thing to watch at Subaru Park or right outside of the WSFS building, should they want to do it out there on the turf. It would be such a wonderful thing to watch, just to kind of gauge where the guys are at, right? And maybe have some sort of open media session or something along those lines. That's just me being unbelievably optimistic and creating a lot of work for a lot of people out in Chester. But I think it would be just such a good media piece for them to take upon. Such an easy opportunity.
You're asking way too much, Jose. You know it, though. You know it.
Likely. Now, one person who's probably going to enjoy the hell out of this and the unfortunate loss to the Union 2, Philadelphia Union grounds, going to get that field looking brand new within 3 weeks now that there's really nothing going on. I don't think. Maybe the off chance random event. That would be probably a great time for them to patch up that warm up area that looks like 17 elephants have run through in the past 24 hours. So we'll see what Mark Mello and company can do to make sure that field looks beautiful for the 22nd or 23rd, which is crazy to say out loud because that is so close to Thanksgiving. It's unreal.
It is unreal. Jillian Almany says Union versus Union 2 scrimmage was fun to watch. Can confirm. And yeah, we've seen the Union do it in the past. I mentioned it on the pregame show with you, Mike. Yeah, and myself at AAT Sports Across the Pitch. I said, yeah, we've seen the Union a few years ago scrimmage against Westchester in right before the playoff match, and it's like, look, it doesn't matter. Yes, I know that you can try and manufacture what the atmosphere is going to be like for a playoff game, but let's face it, no matter what you do in these scrimmages, it's not an actual game. And so it might be fun for the fans to go down there and watch this. It might be fun for the media. It will probably happen, I would imagine, with the players scrimmaging against somebody. Who knows if it will be Union 2? Will it be another local team? I got to imagine Bradley Cornell's going to line something up. Maybe it's New York Red Bulls. Who knows, Jose? I mean, Red Bulls aren't doing anything. Are their players free to come down to Chester and have a little bit of a scrimmage? But regardless, yeah, I would be shocked if the Union don't do anything to prepare themselves where they're not just practicing amongst one another. But that's pretty much everything I have on this. Again, I appreciate all the comments, people saying that it's advantage. It allows players to get healthy. I don't disagree with you. I think that is going to be huge because all teams in the playoffs right now, they're banged up. They have knocks. And whatever team comes through playoffs the most unscathed is probably going to wind up winning MLS Cup. There was a question here for you, Jose, I saw earlier. I don't know if you saw it. It comes from Bruce. He says, Jose, do you think if Quinn was healthy, there would be much of a difference?
I think if you were to ask Bradley Cornell, yes, it would be a massive difference. But I think they're at the stage of the season now where it's hard to mess with what has been working, right? Especially once you get into this rhythm and this cycle, though it's being unbelievably interrupted with 3 weeks of doing nothing. But once again, would Bradley Cornell want a Quinn Sullivan to come off the bench or be a starter and then bring an Indy Vasilev off the bench to go ahead and make a mess out of things and open up spaces the way that they did on match one? Not necessarily that it was Vasilev, but just saying, going at tired legs. I think Bradley Cornell would bite his arm off or something like that, right? Especially someone like Quinn Sullivan, who, albeit streaky, can give you a lot of different looks and an unbelievable work rate on just about every single night. But especially earlier this season, he was just so disruptive and just bending the game at will in terms of, creating space and getting balls in. So yeah, I think Quinn would be a big difference and a gigantic boost, but obviously that's out of the question with this very, very long injury that I'm guessing he had surgery at this point. I don't know. I guess so, right? He did post that he had surgery.
Yeah, he said he had surgery. Yeah.
Okay, so he's on the mend now, and we'll see where he is come. Gosh, it turns around pretty quick, right? Like late January, early February when they go into preseason or come back from preseason. I can't remember exactly what the schedule was. I wonder if they go international this preseason again. Do they go off to Spain again?
Maybe they go someplace else.
Oh, Lingby. That's what you're trying to say, huh?
Still waiting for them to send you your jersey. I don't know what's happening there, but that should probably be Blunder of the week. No, so it's a good question there by Bruce about Quinn Sullivan, and I'm going to throw another question your way, Jose, because I saw people complain about this on social media. Not a ton, but there was enough traction, enough people complaining about it. Kevin Sullivan. People were surprised Kevin Sullivan didn't get in last night. The Union up 3-0. And I saw people saying, well, if you weren't going to play Kevin in a game where you were up by 3, then you should have allowed him to go off with the U17s at the World Cup when that competition is already going on. So were you shocked at all not to see Kevin Sullivan last night? I personally was.
I was a little shocked, I must admit, though my shock came at maybe the 50th minute, 55th minute. I thought, okay, he's got to come in, right? But then as the game went on there on those last 20, 30 minutes, it really did not make sense, in my opinion, for Kevin to come in because it was starting to get extra chippy. You could tell that Chicago was trying to push forward. I know Jack Elliott's volley was insane, and that was, I think, over the last 10 minutes or just before 10 minutes to go, ahead of extra added time. But again, in a game like this, 3-0, sure, could he have gone in? Absolutely. But say he picks up an injury from a hard tackle from a Chicago player that's just unbelievably frustrated with the way that the night has gone. Jeff Gall sort of making a mess out of things early on. And then you have the second Damiani goal that was just clearly a union goal, not so much a union pressure goal. It would be tough to justify for the U17s, where Cavan should be able to slot in and play every single minute of that tournament for the U17. So I get the angle of avoiding injury, but I also get the angle of, well, he missed just about all of the warm-up for the U17s, who I guess just landed yesterday or today out in Qatar, or Qatar, however you want to say it. Though I think that practicing with the first team and even getting those 30 minutes, actually, did he go in the first match at Chicago? He did, right?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Getting those minutes is probably better practice than playing against Mali and whoever else they played in these warm-up friendlies. So, half this way, half the other. I think it's fine. Sure, it would have been great, but the league would have loved it. I'm telling you that. The league would have loved to have Kevin Sullivan play 45 minutes in a, game 2 of a best of 3. That's for sure. But it just didn't happen. Wasn't meant to.
Yeah, and he came close to scoring last week against Chicago too. On the right side of the field, just outside the 18-yard box, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I am a little bit shocked that we didn't see Kevin Sullivan. I was maybe a little bit more shocked that we didn't see Danley John Jock or Milan Alaski get pulled at halftime, because I'm like, great, if one of these guys pick up a second yellow card, they're too irreplaceable, in my opinion, to miss for a one-off game. And with how chippy that game was getting, I was like, and Danny Higginbottom said it too on the English broadcast. He said, this game will not finish 11v11. And it did somehow wind up finishing 11v11. And maybe that's because Oriel wasn't out there suspended for this game because of his stupid punch on Kai Wagner's throat in the last game. But yeah, I was a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, that either Danley or Milan Alaski were going to pick up a second yellow card, and then they would miss the semifinal game. But fortunately for the Union, no injuries or no second yellow cards, and now everybody hopefully will be available for the game on the 22nd or 23rd. But I do want to go ahead and flip topics. We switched around here a little bit, which is totally fine. But the save by Andre Blake on Brian Gutierrez's penalty in the 32nd minute, 3 minutes later, the Union go and get their third goal. That was a huge momentum swing, in my opinion, Jose. Not the greatest penalty whatsoever by Brian Gutierrez. And look, I think Andre Blake would probably be the first to admit that too, because of how poorly that kick was. It made it easier for Blake to save, but he still had to make the save. Let's not forget that. He went the right way, which is a credit to Andre Blake and Phil Wedden for just the amount of work they put in, studying the opposition, studying the penalty kicks, and Blake goes the right way, makes a save. But imagine, Jose, if Gutierrez converts that penalty and now it's 2-1. All the momentum's now switched back to Chicago Fire. And it's a typical soccer cliche. A 2-0 lead's the worst lead in soccer. And it almost proved to be the case. If Gutierrez converts that penalty kick, you have Jovan Lukic on Jack Elliott on the corner kick, which I have no clue how Jovan was the one marking Jack Elliott. Complete mismatch there. And Jovan pulls him down in the box. And yeah, I mean, it was a clear-cut penalty. And after Blake makes a save, no happier player on that field than Jovan Lukic, because he knows he messed up. He knows that he got caught out, that he probably shouldn't have been the one guarding Jack Elliott. And so because of that, he tries to pull him down, slow him down, and gets called, right call by the referee and VAR. But yeah, I think right there, which is also crazy to say, you're up 2-0. That may have been the defining moment in this game, Jose. That the save by Andre Blake, because who knows what would have happened? 2-1, all the pressure would have been on the Union to go ahead. All right, we concede a penalty. Let's continue playing our way. Yes, we punish Chicago for one goalkeeping mistake. Let's go out here and play the way we want to play. Not have possession of the ball, put pressure on the opposition, try to turn them over in their own half. And it's what happens 3 minutes later with Bruno Damiani. It's just too long on the ball. It's a bad back pass by Jack Elliott into goal. Too long on the ball, and then Alaski is able to deflect the ball, and it falls to Bruno Damiani. But in my opinion, that was the biggest moment in this game.
Yeah, and I think it was you who asked the question about this, and to your point on, why the hell was Lukic guarding Elliott or playing defense on Elliott, man marking Elliott during that moment. This is also the same team, Todd, and you may remember this from when we went to New York City, but for whatever reason, Keaton Parks is being marked by Indiana Vassilev. That's a 6'4" player against a 5'8" player. So not all of these matchups really make sense in the moment. And obviously it all happens so quickly and fluid. It's not like a chess match that you would see in American football. But the penalty was just, I felt terrible, meaning it was a bad kick, especially when you're going against Andre Blake. No real angle to it. I think it was more of like a confidence, like, oh, I'm just going to pick a side and just sort of pass it in, rather than picking side netting for either side and passing it with force. And you're right. I think Jovan let out a gigantic scream and a fist pump in the air as soon as Blake saved it, because he was the most relieved person in that entire field after that moment. The answer that Cornell gave about this specific moment and the momentum and the swaying and of the game, I thought was just so good. I'm not sure if that's a clip you're planning on playing. Okay. And maybe this is probably a good time to play it.
Huge. I mean, there's momentum and swings and sways of a game that determine the outcome. And if we concede a goal there, then we're under pressure, even at 2-1, right? So, and in the last game, we scored a goal. 5 minutes later, we were 2-0 up. When they scored a goal, 5 minutes later, it was 2-2. So these 5-minute little increments of the momentum and sway of the game are vitally important. And, credit to Dre. We did our homework with, the penalty kick takers. And, Dre guessed right. Oh, right meaning left.
I love that little quirkiness from him. He's fun when he's happy. I think he's happy most of the time, but especially after a victory like that, it's fun to talk with him. But yeah, what an awful penalty kick. I mean, he may as well have just kicked it down the bit. Yeah, there it is. There's a big old stream. Did you feel like that was a penalty? I felt it was.
Yeah, 100% a penalty. 100%.
Okay. Just making sure, because I know that sometimes people feel like, oh, well, it's just a soccer play inside the box, whatever. But that one was pretty apparent of grabbing Elliott by the hips and just, or the arm, whatever it was. But yeah, no, I think that 2-1 lead is just, they always say the most dangerous lead in soccer. And as Cornell voiced it so perfectly, there's no worse score in the momentum and the swaying there, especially with those 5-minute increment samples that he mentions. Like, bang on, you're right. I think that was absolutely the biggest moment of the match, even with, and that's saying a lot considering what happened with Jeff Gall on the night. So yeah, kudos to the Union for sorting themselves out. And I think you even said it like at some point, or you wrote it, like 3 minutes later, they went on to score. The Union did. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. The biggest pendulum swing in terms of momentum there for Philadelphia. Yeah,
exactly. And at 3-0, you feel comfortable that the Union are probably going to see that one out. And to Chicago's credit, they try to push and get a goal. They couldn't. The Union were just locked in defensively, which is, I guess, a good segue for the last talking point for the game. Is just the Union continuing to find consistency defensively with only 2 goals conceded from open play in the last 6 games. I don't know why I have open cup there. That's what happens when you're writing the show notes so early in the morning when you're on a plane and everything. You're like, man, why do I wake up at 3:00 in the morning to get on a flight? But yeah, it's something you and I had talked about last episode, Jose. Just, yes, it's disappointing that the Union conceded 2 goals, and Indiana and Vassilev had talked about how, yeah, for the players, they still conceded 2 goals, and that's disappointing. But my angle when I asked him about that question is, but you're not conceding goals from open play. Set piece goals are correctable. We heard Bradley Carnell talk about that in his midweek press conference that, they're going to do things to correct that from not happening again. And it's funny that the Union almost conceded another set piece goal with Jovan fouling Jack Elliott. Then it would have been a penalty kick. And I remember having this conversation with Phil Whedon a couple of years ago on the podcast, asking him, is a set piece is a penalty kick a set piece? Yes or no? I said, technically, I think it is. But I think Phil and I both settled on no, it's not. But yeah, it's interesting. Set piece, Jovan mismatch, pulls them down. It's like, come on, got to be better than that. And Andre bails them out. But again, only 2 goals from open play in your last 6 games where you have 4 clean sheets in those 6 games. That's super impressive. And you hear it all the time in sports, Jose, where people say, oh, defense wins championships, which I think is 100% true. I wrote an article looking at the defensive numbers a couple weeks ago, and the Union, we all know, conceded the fewest amount of goals in MLS at 35 this season. And they've only conceded 2 goals in MLS play so far in the playoffs, where they both came last game, both from set pieces. But if this team continues to lock down some of the best attackers, which I think Jonathan Bamba, I think Hugo Kuipers and Zenko Nako are one of the best attacking trios in all of MLS we saw this season. And to see the Union shut them down, and maybe part of that is how the Union approach this game defensively. We see Frankie Westfield play as a number 10. We see Nathan Harriel play as a right back. We know Frankie's a defensive-minded player, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise, right, Jose? With Indy not being able to go 90 minutes, with Ua not being able to go on the bench, where, okay, they get a little bit defensive, and it helps them keep, yet again, another clean sheet. And the front 3 of Zinkonako, Bamba, and Kuipers held quietly, did nothing all game long. 0.
I don't know, man. Folks in Chicago mentioned that Chicago was the most talented team out of the 2. Interesting to see the way that the season went. But I think where I come out of all this is that I think it continues to show, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. And sure, they're not the most deep team in specific spots, but I think overall it feels like they're deeper and more reliable than previous years. But the Union are able to right now just, I think more than ever, try out different things. But to be trying out these different things and testing some of these specific tactics in the playoffs is just such a mind-blowing thing. Where in the past, you and I as press and the royal we of fans as well, sort of watch these games, are like, okay, well, let's see how they get through this, or at least us in the press, like, okay, let's see how this goes. Whatever, if it happens, it happens. Fans are kind of like, why are they trying these new things? So I just stay tried and true to what has worked all season. So for Philadelphia to be able to be trying some of these things, like Frankie Westfield going up a little bit higher, being short on some players here and there, but still going and handling business at home and away against Chicago, is to me unbelievably impressive. So that's what I take away from sort of, finding the consistency, but also more importantly, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And I think your comment is so perfect too, Todd, of set plays or set piece goals. She can, I don't want to say easily correct, because that's undermining and underplaying how difficult it is to win games in MLS, but it's something that players can absolutely correct, that they have a way to fix. Whereas open play goals is, again, it's free flowing. It's not a chess match as it would be football or other sports. And you know what, dude, give a USSF license to Sexy Hoagie, because listen to this strategy. Should always go up 3-0 at half. That's a great strategy to me. That wins games, right?
Yeah, the second time, by my calculations, that the Union have done that this season. The other one being DC United, and we know that game went 6-0.
Do it more.
Not all games are going to go like that.
Often,
but
more often. Do it more, right?
I think I'm more shocked that it happened in the playoffs than anything. I mean, 3 goals scored in one half, which has LAFC put up 3 goals past Austin yet? I know it was 2-0. I'm trying to look. Did they put 3 goals up? 3 goals they did. 3-1. So they scored 3 goals. They just didn't go up 3-1. So Pereira scored a late penalty kick in this first half. But yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe try scoring 3 goals more so in the first half, and good things happen. Who knows? Good strategy there. I agree with Hoagie. But I had asked Bradley Cornell, and it's the last clip we'll play for. Actually, we have one more clip to play for Blunder of the Week. But yeah, I had asked Bradley Cornell just what's clicked defensively, because I think personally this is something that should be talked about more online. I think that the MLS talking heads should talk about this more, because what the Union are doing defensively deserves a lot more credit than you and I are giving it right now, Jose. More people nationally need to be talking about this, because again, 4 clean sheets in your last 6 games, only 2 open play goals scored in those 6 games, or conceded in those 6 games. That's a big story in my opinion. And so I had asked Bradley Cornell what's been the key to that, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, hunger, desire, maturity over the course of the season. I said it earlier, the guys seem to be galvanizing in a really good way, positive energy. Everyone at this point of the season understanding roles, responsibilities, as they should do by now. And now there's no hard feelings. If I'm not playing, I think about Jesus Bueno or Rafa Nelo. These guys empty the tank every single day in training. Rafa's worked his way back from injury. And I said to him when he came on, you might run out of time. You might not even get a touch, but, just do what's needed. And he was like, no problem, coach, whatever. And I see this unity within the group right now. And it's not quite... You can't quite put your finger on it, but it's a special feeling. And when this special feeling, all around Chester, roaming around with the fans and the team and the staff, the whole front office, when you feel this momentum and support, it almost becomes, not an autopilot, but something that we can really enjoy for the rest of the season now.
And I do agree. It does feel like a special feeling down in Chester, especially that first playoff game against Chicago. We had talked about it. It felt like a playoff game, like, duh, it is a playoff game. But you saw the fans in their seats earlier than they normally are during the regular season. They were up for it. We heard how loud it was before this game started. But the only thing that concerns me is a 3-week break, Jose. We'll see what happens. But I do get a special feeling with this group. It is a special season, regardless of how it ends in the playoffs. They went out in Bradley Cornell's first season as the Philadelphia Union's head coach and won a trophy. They won a Supporters' Shield. Nobody had the Union winning Supporters' Shield. I don't think many people had the Union finishing in the top 4. But yet, here they are, exceeding all expectations. Bradley Cornell up for Coach of the Year. We'll see if he gets that. But yeah, this is a special team defensively. And yes, this team, you need goals to be scored in the playoffs. Yes, Tai Baribo getting hot at the right time would be excellent for this team. But if they can continue to shut down difference makers like Azenko Knuckle, Abamba, or Kuipers, then why couldn't this team win an MLS Cup? Why couldn't this team get back to MLS Cup? And yes, I know Sun and Bwanga are the hot thing right now in MLS with what they've been doing the last month and a half. I know Thomas Muller can't stop scoring for Vancouver. But what the Union are doing, and I hope people listening to this in the RSS feed, people watching this live, I hope they can appreciate, Jose, how truly special what the Union are doing defensively. Because let's not forget, if they don't concede those 7 goals against Vancouver, that 35 goals conceded during the regular season is looking a lot less. And then we're starting to talk historic defense, because that's how good the Union have been. Macania could have been up there, I think, for a new or for Young Player of the Year. Could have potentially been up there for a Defender of the Year. I think it was Dax McCarty who put him in his best 11. We saw Glesnes, we saw Wagner, both as finalists for Defender of the Year. Did they play this game with extra motivation after getting snubbed? Potentially. I thought they were excellent on the night with blocks, interceptions, ball recoveries. They were really, really good defensively on the night. And so, yeah, that's the last thing I'll say on this topic before I let you have the final word on it, is I hope the fans can appreciate how special this team is defensively.
I agree with you. And I hope that they can too, right? To be able to have Glesnes and Kai go off and be finalists for the Defender of the Year and ultimately whatever, splitting the vote or whatever you want to call it is still somewhat special. Owaithu should have been considered for an award this year, I think, depending how you view him. I see him as an MLS rookie this year, though technically he's had an MLS contract for a year and change now, I guess 2 years at this point. But I think the thing to hone in is, this might, whatever, slot me into people's brains into the category of bootlicker, and that's fine. But a couple of things can also be true at the same time. The scouting department, unbelievable work in terms of being Jovan, who is an absolute menace at defense, which was a perfect supplement to what Danley was already doing. But even back up further, Todd, or I guess go a little bit ahead, I guess, in the timeline of things, how Ernst got it absolutely right so far. Supporter Shield, great. U.S. Open Cup run, could have been better, obviously. I hate to see that loss there. But letting go of, and in their own rights, they're absolutely great players. But Jack McGlynn, not going to fit this defensive effort needed to play the ball the way that Cornell likes to play ball. Daniel Gastag, who has gone on to make 30 appearances and over 2,290 minutes, only score 4 goals and 5 assists in a system with Nancy, whatever. I could have sworn it was going to work for him, where suddenly he was just going to explode. But obviously it just didn't. It just hasn't happened. And I think he's played. I haven't checked the stats on today's game against Columbus, but he only showed up for 29 minutes of game 1. I'm not sure if he even went in today. So, a $4 million purchase relegated to only playing 29 minutes in game 1 of a MLS playoff with this new team is kind of shocking to me. I know you're looking it up right now, and I'm vamping a little bit here, but my guess is that maybe he went in a little bit, considering that there was a 30-some minute red card by Yaya Kubo. Kubo-san got a red card. I don't know if Gastag went in.
He played 20 minutes today, went in at the 70th.
So he's played one half of soccer in 2 full matches possible. And this is a $4 million marquee signing that Isa Tall, the Ernst Tanner of Columbus, deemed as basically highway robbery when he was told of the price. So again, to reiterate, maybe Ernst Tanner and his crew know what they're doing when it comes to evaluating players and maybe figuring out, does he work for the system? Does he not work for the system? And it turns out that they pulled the right strings and got great value for the players that they moved. What did I say? I thought I said Columbus scored 4 goals today. I might have said something wrong. So thank you, Hoagie. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what is going to happen. But yeah, Daniel Gastag going from part of the trident that got Philadelphia that incredible run of however many points over 6 years, whatever the line was that Jim Curtin would always tout to us in the press, right? The most points over 6 years was sort of his go-to for not necessarily winning trophies, but to go from such a keystone piece in that squad to now relegated to sitting on the bench and playing 20 minutes at a time and certainly a must-win game is kind of telling of maybe the acumen of realizing where players are in their cycle of career cycle, and maybe Gastag is on the other side of the hill.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody can argue with the moves that were made this season with where the Union currently find themselves in a Eastern Conference semifinal against either a Charlotte or New York City. But let's go ahead and end this show on Blunder of the Week. And so I thought about making Blunder of the Week, honestly, the penalty kicks and last night's Portland versus San Diego game. My God, I don't know if you watched him, Jose. I don't know if people in the comment section watch him, but I don't know how you don't at least put a penalty kick on target. It was shockingly bad penalty kicks. But I do have to give Blunder of the Week to the Chicago Fire fans for stopping the game multiple times for their derogatory chants. And what I'll say is, before we play the clip, there's some people that have no issue with this. There are people who have an issue with it. I'm not going to go make an argument for either side. Where my argument is, Jose, where my issue is that you were told to stop once, then you do it a second time, you do it a third time, and you keep going. You keep going. And now, instead of making the game about itself, you have fans that are making it about them. They're literally stopping the play. They're literally stopping the play. You have Greg Berhalter eventually go over there, tell them to stop. You have Joe Waterman go over there and tell them to stop. And they continue to do it. And I saw Joe Chats. I saw Alex Calabrese. They both wrote articles on this. That should not be the story from this game. That should not be the story or whatsoever. The story should be Chicago Fire looked like absolute dog water once again against the Philadelphia Union, even though supposedly they had the better team than the Union. They looked like dog water on the field. But instead of that performance by Chicago Fire on the field, it's what their fans did. And I get it. A couple bad apples doesn't taint the whole fan base. I totally get that. But when you have the game stop multiple times, it's not a great look for your team, for your organization. I know the Chicago Fire came out with a press release after the game condoning the actions by the fans. I know Greg Berhalter touched on it a little bit after the game, saying that this isn't who we are. You know, throughout the season, we've been really good, and it doesn't take away from what kind of season that we had, but it's still an unfortunate situation. And so for people who I would assume all you guys watch this game, but maybe some of you guys were listening to Dave Leno and Sebastian Letou on 97.5 The Fanatic instead of listening to the Apple broadcast, here's Steve Cangelosi and Danny Higginbottom on that moment.
First ever playoff series. Just the third expansion team in its inaugural season to win its playoff debut. Game here is being paused by the referee John Freeman. We saw a sign on the video board here just a few moments ago warning fans to stop the obscene chants, and now it's happened 3 times. Thus, the referee gives pause to the events here 78 minutes in, being explained to Bradley Carnell by the 4th official, Chris Penso. Fans have looked forward to this event all week. We're seeing now the coach himself who is going over to the fans to communicate here. Guys, enough. For Carnell, it's been a masterpiece this season, hasn't it? Received word last week that he is indeed a finalist for MLS Coach of the Year. along with San Diego's Mikey Varas, Vancouver's Jesper Sorensen. Strong case could be made for any of the three.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, a few bad apples doesn't taint a whole fan base, in my opinion, but when you've been warned multiple times, the head coach goes over there, a player goes over there to tell you to stop, and you don't stop, and you make the game about yourself, then that's an issue. Then that is 100% an issue. And so the Chicago Fire fans, they're going to wind up getting Blunder of the Week.
Yeah, not good.
No, not good at all.
I have nothing to add. I it's just crazy that Greg Berhalter made his way over. Like that's like a pit in my stomach, embarrassing type of moment, right? So, you know, if I were a supporter of that team, and have the coach come and say something, it's kind of I don't know, that's so embarrassing. And my goodness, I didn't realize how clear it was because I was watching the game muted. My kids had just gotten home from a birthday party that they were at, so I was getting them settled with dinner and some other stuff, and the game was just muted while I was watching and taking some notes for the stuff I was writing. I had no clue it was that clear. that you could hear just about everything. And what's most interesting about it all is that, like, as soon as they get scolded, and I don't know, was that the first time, second, third? Do you know what that clip was specifically?
That was like the third time.
Okay.
The first time that it got stopped, though. First time that the game got stopped.
For them to then say, "Ref, you suck," it's just such a like comical thing of like, no, actually, it's you on these bleachers that suck. It's obviously everybody's offended by different things. Spanish speakers from different areas will tell you that the PUTO word means different things. Whatever. I don't care where you stand on that. But the fact remains that it is not socially acceptable. There, everywhere, whatever. It's dicey. So if you're asked to stop saying it the first time, that's already a problem. But to continue and then ultimately try to flip the script and make yourself once again the main character and yell at the referee telling him that you suck, it's just like, wow, like how tone deaf are you, you know? But yeah, deserved. And, you know, this team, I saw the press release from the club. I think it was the supporter section. I forget what the organization is, the Independence, what is it? The supporter club, whatever. I forget the name of the organization. I think that they're probably going to have to investigate and figure out what actually happened. I don't know if there are fines for this that Chicago has to pay at this point.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, certainly not the type of fines that you want to be paying, right? I think about that Copa Sudamericana match earlier this week with the fireworks, and the reporting was that, like, the owners were totally cool. Like, yeah, go ahead and do this. We'll take care of the fines, no problem. Yeah, there you go. It's just, I don't know. I gotta go in there and read some of these comments because they're probably gonna be telling me exactly the I don't know. Not, believe me, Philadelphia is not a bad fan base, but there's certainly apples within it that make it seem, and it's usually the louder ones. My goodness, I don't know who it was. Todd, I shared it with you, but someone made a video clip of Carnell videos. I don't know if it was AI, but dressing him up like a terrorist. I'm like, the hell is this doing here? Like, such an unbelievable thing to see. So there are people out there that are just doing crazy shit. So I find it amazing that they try to spin it around and make it a referee thing rather than a themselves thing. And I know that was supposed to be short, but it's such an amazing situation. I can't think of many MLS playoff games that have been stopped for this. Obviously, CONCACAF Nations League was stopped a couple of years ago because of that, or last year.
Yeah, that's the first time in MLS that I can recall that. People in the comment section, people listening on the RSS feed, let us know if you can recall an MLS game being stopped for a chance like that, because that's the first time. And I thought it was weird that it had happened multiple times. And I was like, if they stop this a third time, what's going to happen? Are they going to call this game off. And obviously the game finishes. And Steve and Danny actually were talking. They're like, yeah, they wouldn't be surprised if no added minutes get added because of the behavior from the fans. And we ended up getting, I think, 2 minutes of stoppage time. But one last thing that I want to point out from Michael, he says they were also throwing stuff at Blake in goal. And yeah, spot on. So, I mean, again, if it wasn't the chance, it was throwing objects on the field. I remember a year or so ago giving Blunder the week to Nashville for them throwing stuff at the Union, giving it to or maybe it was the Union against Nashville throwing the hot dogs on the field. But I'm pretty sure Nashville threw stuff too at Geodis Park the following match between these two teams. Because, it was. Because Nashville fans got mad that the Union were throwing hot dogs on the field, and that canceled Dollar Dog Night for the Union. It's definitely not coming back after that moment. And then when the game went down to Geodis Park, then Nashville fans started throwing stuff at the Union. It's like a whole bunch of hypocrites. You guys are condoning the Union for doing it at Chester. And then I saw Nashville fans like saying it's okay that they were throwing stuff at the Union because they were taunting their supporters section. Like, what are we doing here? Wrong's wrong. So, look, I think this was a deserved blunder of the week.
Yes.
And as Michael puts it, back to $8 hot dogs again.
Union love to sell those, I'm sure. God, I remember, I think it was the home opener certainly 5 years ago at this point. I think Raphael was about to be born. We went to, I think it was the Minnesota Union game, and it was freezing cold. And we bought my wife was so hungry, pregnant, and she bought a hamburger from the stands, and it was a hockey puck at the Union Stadium. I felt so bad for her. This is so long ago now, but yeah, there we go. Oh, that is insane images.
I never got rid of this video. I was like, I'm never deleting this from my computer. Just seeing the Union staff, unfortunately, having to pick up all those hot dogs as
we recognize this. We recognize those faces.
So bad. So yes, there was a $1 hot dog night, Sexy Hoagie.
Yeah. How did you get this clip so quick? It's because
I had it saved.
I don't think people realize how. I know you.
We
know
literally have folders. We have folders
of clips of things that are forever going to be etched in my mind. Jim Curtin talking about 2.5 Men. Jovan Lukic calling himself an idiot because he's an idiot. Like just random shit that I have sitting in a folder somewhere. It's I don't know. Trick of the trade. Just have funny little videos there.
Yeah, I have a video too from the rain game. I think it was last year. Do you remember that, Jose?
Seattle.
Against Seattle. Yeah, Jesus Bueno just completely wiping out.
Yeah,
there it is.
That's the game that never happened.
Yeah, that just got caught off. I mean, I just have so many of these clips saved to my computer. It's like when you have moments like this, you never want to forget them.
You're lucky to even have that because that game genuinely
the game got taken
happened.
out. Yeah,
never happened. It's not on Apple. Nothing. It's impossible to watch. So kudos to you.
The only clip I have from that game. The only clip I have from that game.
Well, it's between you and MLS/Apple servers. I don't know that there's many.
You think they still have that? Do you think they deleted that game?
I think it's for them. It's as easy as like clicking one toggle, display, not display, and they certainly have selected not display because it's just impossible to watch. Yeah, man. I don't know. I
think that game only was played for 6 minutes. I would imagine they still have the whole 6 minutes. They should send it down to Texas to the National Soccer Hall of Fame. I mean, that is a Hall of Fame worthy game. 6-minute performance.
Didn't your clip say 10 minutes?
Oh, was it 10 minutes? I thought it was 6. Are you seeing a time there? I don't see a time.
I thought I saw a time. Why do I think I saw a time? Never mind. Forget it. I must be seeing fucking things. Oh, I saw 10:30 p.m. That's what I thought at the bottom of the running time. Yeah, man. I don't know. Just there's some moments in this with this club that Raquinho. I have Raquinho living in 2 thumb drives, like it's just dumb shit like that. That just, just moments.
Absolutely. But now we're 20. We always talk so much, Jose, and it's okay. And a lot of comments tonight too. A lot of people interacting with us, which is what you and I both love. We love seeing the interactions from the fan base and people keeping us on our toes. But anything you want to go ahead and plug, I'm sure you do, Jose. And again, as always, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to obviously all year write for the league itself with my match reactions, which are typically shorter, moment-driven articles about what happened during the game and what they said afterwards, with little hints of like recaps, but often just quote-driven. But phillyvoice.com reached out and they needed somebody to help them out with coverage during the entire playoff run with game day or match day previews or before match previews, like the day before. And then immediately after / the next morning, I'm leaning towards next morning to make sure that there's some separation between my work, making sure that, MLS is obviously getting what they need and Philly Voice is getting what they need. And there's no, merging of the waters here to try to stay kosher. But Philly Voice will be getting longer, more driven match recaps after matches during this entire MLS playoffs. So you can find my work there. And as I understand that, it's sort of a test for them to see how popular the Union coverage can be for them. And they obviously needed it, but a nice test for them to figure out if they want to continue it next season, and certainly whether or not they want to dip their toes into, or I guess really lean their shoulder into potentially having World Cup coverage, especially with it coming to Philadelphia. So you can find my work on MLS and on phillyvoice.com and social media, as you have nicely listed here, but not much else to plug. That's a lot already.
Yeah, that's cool. And I wasn't fast enough to go ahead and get a QR code posted for that. So I'll go ahead and put it in the show description for you guys. Yeah. Nah, I mean, look, we spent, I felt like 30 minutes last week talking about how there needs to be more coverage locally. And here's an opportunity, a pretty big site, I would say, and with Philly Voice. And hopefully they continue to have you write for them and hopefully bring other people on board too, because the Philadelphia Union are a good team. You guys know that. We spent an hour 23 minutes talking about how the Philadelphia Union are a good team, and we do it every episode too. So if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod, wherever you get your podcasts of the Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. Live every single podcast. You can also check out the goals breakdown video, which I never gave you guys a goals breakdown video for game 1. I don't know if I want to do it for game 2, because honestly, I've just never done it for the playoffs. And I know you guys are like, do it. I had 4 goals scored last game, 3 goals scored this game. Maybe we do it if the Union get to MLS Cup. I don't know. Maybe we start something new. I mean, you guys.
Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can do it series driven. Now that the series is over and you have 3 weeks to complete this fucking thing, Todd. Do one for the Chicago series, and then it gets a little easier because it's a one-off match, and hopefully there's 3 for you to follow up on. So maybe that's the angle, man.
Maybe it is. Jose coming up with splendid ideas. So with that said, you can check out thefreekick.substack.com for my articles, the podcast, and goals breakdown video. So yeah, thank you, Jose, for that video. And everybody else in the comment section says thank you as well, since they so much enjoy watching those goals breakdown videos. At least that's what the comments say at times. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And like I said at the beginning of the show, Jose, it feels a little bit weird that the roles are reversed, that you're not the one traveling, that I am the one traveling this time. And yeah, we'll see how long the podcast takes to download so people on the RSS feed can listen to this. Because look, we say it all the time. There's a reason you guys should listen to the live podcast. You guys get the podcast first before anybody else in Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast. You guys watching it live on YouTube and Twitter get it first. And so, yeah, we're always appreciative of you guys talking with us in the chat and asking us questions and just interacting with us. You guys are the best part. We say it every single episode. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.